Let's go.
Self-voicing enabled. Hearing to use surprised exclamation. I rush over to the figure up ahead. Self-voicing disabled.
Once I get closer, I, I realize that it's not just for you. Mirari is with her too.
Self-voicing enabled. However. Self-voicing disabled.
Akashiyuna, please help me.
Self-voicing enabled. To you, Mirari suddenly collapsed while we were walking, so I carried her myself, but the path is
I
self-voicing
know
disabled.
most of the paths have changed or been blocked off.
Self-voicing enabled. Akashi you won't be able to get through here. Not today. Self-voicing disabled.
Eh? But then, what do we do?
To you, Mirari's unconscious. She needs somewhere warm to rest, day and something to eat, and self-voicing disabled.
Calm down, Puyo. If you panic, you are just going to make things even harder on yourself. For the time being, you are both coming back to my cabin.
Self-voicing enabled. Akashi I'll help you to carry Mirari back there, and we'll make sure to keep her nice and warm. To you. Self-voicing disabled.
No, but we could not possibly. I was not asking. Asking.
Self-voicing enabled. Akashi you take one arm, I'll take the other. Got it. Self-voicing
Yes,
disabled.
I understand. If it's for the princess, then
Self-voicing enabled. Yu comes to her senses and grabs hold of Mirari tightly. Self-voicing disabled.
I do the same, grabbing Mirari other arm and wrapping her arm around my shoulders.
Self-voicing enabled. Like so. You and I begin to carry the unconscious princess back to my truck, braving the hellish blizzard once more. Self-voicing disabled.
Throw, grit, exertion and with much difficulty, I managed to bring Mary and Fuyu back to my cabin safe and sound.
Self-voicing enabled. While the two girls aren't injured, it seems that they're both utterly exhausted, with Mary still unconscious and likely running a fever. Self-voicing
Fuyu
disabled.
is sick with worry and clearly over exerting herself, but otherwise appears to be fine. How is Mary doing? Any chance? Any chance?
Self-voicing enabled. In response to my question, Yu shakes her head. Self-voicing
Still
disabled.
nothing. The princess won't wake up at all. Ah, too bad. Too bad.
Self-voicing enabled. Akashi Yu so well. Just give her time and she'll be okay. Self-voicing
I
disabled.
hope so. Fuyu shrugs as she shrugged off my optimism.
Self-voicing enabled. It seems that her concern for her friend is not so easily dismissed. Self-voicing disabled.
You know, Mary was in far worse shape when I found her.
Self-voicing enabled. Akashi Yu as long as she kept warm, and given the chance to rest, I think she'll definitely pull through. Self-voicing disabled.
For the time being, Posi- positioning myself directly behind Fuyu, I place one hand on the girl's head.
Self-voicing enabled. Akashi Yu I'm more worried about you. To you. Self-voicing disabled.
Why would you be worried about me? Is that really so strange?
Self-voicing enabled. Akashi Yu you were out there in that blizzard too, you know. Self-voicing
You
disabled.
even wound up, carrying Mary all by yourself before I got there. Not to mention the panic and stress you would have been suffering from. So, how are you holding up?
Self-voicing enabled. Akashi Yu do you need anything? To you. Is there something I can't do for you? To you. Self-voicing disabled.
Don't be absurd. Your concern is entirely un unnecessary human.
Self-voicing enabled. Yu puffs and turns away with a red tinge to her cheeks. Self-voicing disabled.
You should focus your attention on Mary instead.
Self-voicing enabled. To you, she's the important one here, not me. Self-voicing disabled.
I would have gladly given my life if it meant bringing her back home, safe and sound.
Self-voicing enabled. I begin to rub Yu's head while chuckling to myself. Self-voicing
So
disabled.
what you are saying is, you are so concerned for your friends' happiness that you do give up your own life, your own life in order for her to achieve it. That is not what I said.
Self-voicing enabled. To you. I just don't want the pack to suffer because of that girl's selfish whims. That's all. Akashi.
Yes,
Self-voicing
yes,
disabled.
I understand. I continue to pet Fuyu as she shocked.
Self-voicing enabled. Despite her usual temperament, she doesn't push my hand away, nor does she appear to dislike the contact. Self-voicing disabled.
If she were not so proud, she might actually give in to the feeling and lean in closer.
Self-voicing enabled. Akashi but you know, to you, as great as it is to be loyal, you shouldn't put so little importance on your own life. Self-voicing disabled.
Just as your pet, Miss Mary. I am sure they miss you too. Miss Mrs. Yeah. And I know for a fact that if you were gone, Mary would be devastated.
Self-voicing enabled. Akashi So, don't throw your life away, okay? Self-voicing disabled.
Take care of yourself, just as you take care of Mary.
Self-voicing enabled. After a long night of watching you fuss over misery, I eventually turn in for the night and go to bed. Self-voicing disabled.
Convincing Fuyu to do the same proves surprisingly difficult. She is adamant about being there for Mary and doesn't want to leave her side.
Self-voicing enabled. It isn't until I convey to Fuyu the expected time at which Mirari will awaken, a complete light on my heart, that Fuyu finally agrees to rest. Self-voicing
She
disabled.
snuggles up next to Mary, just as they had when they slept on the couch together previously, and before long, Fuyu is sound asleep.
Self-voicing enabled. Sheesh. Those two really are a handful.
Maybe
Self-voicing disabled.
I should not get a pet after all. Looking after those two is already tiring enough.
Self-voicing enabled. Akashi Well, I guess I'd better go see how the two are doing. Self-voicing disabled.
If I am lucky, maybe they all have slept in.
Self-voicing enabled. Despite my optimism, the very first thing I see upon entering the living room is the sight of Fuyu towering over Mary. Self-voicing disabled.
I mean it. I am feeling much better now.
Self-voicing enabled. Mary, really, I can't get up on my own. Self-voicing disabled.
I don't care if you are feeling better. No means no.
Self-voicing enabled. Fuyu, you're going to stay in bed and rest. Got it. Self-voicing disabled.
No, but what about breakfast? I all make breakfast.
Self-voicing enabled. Fuyu, you just keep resting until I bring your portion over to you.
Would that
Self-voicing disabled.
really be all right?
Self-voicing enabled. Mirroring. You haven't received the same training that I have. Self-voicing disabled.
Don't you worry about me. It'll be a piece of cake.
Self-voicing enabled. To you, how hard can human cuisine be anyway?
If
Self-voicing disabled.
Akashiona can make it, then there's no way that someone like me won't be able to. Oh, really?
Self-voicing enabled. Akashi Yu. That's quite the declaration there. To you. Self-voicing disabled.
Fuyu freezes up the moment she hears my voice.
Self-voicing enabled. With great hesitation, Fuyu slowly turns her head until she's looking at me out of the corner of her eye. Self-voicing disabled.
Akashiona, how long have you been standing there?
Self-voicing enabled. Akashi Yu. Long enough to hear you promise that you'll be making us all breakfast. Self-voicing disabled.
Do you need me to show you where the storeroom is? Well,
Self-voicing enabled. Fuyu averts her gaze as she tries to avoid my question. Self-voicing disabled.
it seems this rowdy wolf girl doesn't possess her princess knowledge of such things after all. Akashiona,
Self-voicing enabled. Before I can't tease you any further, Mirari calls out to me in a surprisingly assertive voice. Akashi. Self-voicing
Yes.
disabled.
Mirari, Akashiona, I apologize. I apologize. Huh? Princess Fuyu and I both stare at Mary in surprise as she hangs her head.
Self-voicing enabled. Mirari, even after you told me to leave. Even after I resolved myself to stop relying on your kindness. Here I am once again. Self-voicing disabled.
I live burdened you once more, forcing you to take care of me even after you leave already done so much for me.
Self-voicing enabled. Mirari, I just want you to know that. This is it. Mirari. Self-voicing disabled.
As soon as I am able, I will leave this cabin and never come back.
Self-voicing enabled. Mirari, I will not bother you ever again. Self-voicing disabled.
Princess, despite the fact that Mary is now agreeing to live without a fight, even Fuyu can't accept her downhearted proclamation.
Self-voicing enabled. If Mirari had been able to declare with a smile on her face that she would return to her pack, I would wish her well. Self-voicing
Fuyu
disabled.
would happily lead her along. The duo would return home, and that would be the end of it.
Self-voicing enabled. given Mirari's current state of mind. However, self-voicing disabled.
Think before you speak, Mirari.
Self-voicing enabled. Akashi Yu. If you say something that's stupid, there's no way I'm going to let you leave. Self-voicing disabled.
Akashi Yuna. Listen to me, Mirari. This is twice now that you live almost die because you live gone out unprepared.
Self-voicing enabled. Akashi Yu. The weather's been unpredictable lately. The paths have changed, and half of the snow underfoot is unstable. Self-voicing disabled.
I am not going to be held responsible for you running off to your death, Mary. So,
Self-voicing enabled. Akashi Yu. Until I say otherwise, the two of you are staying right here with me. Got it. Self-voicing disabled.
you mean that we can stay? I not in confirmation. Princess, did you hear that?
Self-voicing enabled. Mirari, we can stay. We can stay here after all.
Oh, this is such a relief. Yes,
Self-voicing disabled.
Princess, I am also. I I mean I am happy for you, Princess. If you must linger a, a while for the sake of your recovery, then I have no choice but to keep you company.
Self-voicing enabled. The two girls join hands and bounce on their heels, wearing expressions of joy as they do. Self-voicing disabled.
Contrary, contrary to Fuyu's words, it seems she is just as relieved as Minari.
Self-voicing enabled. You're so transparent, to you. Self-voicing disabled.
Can you just honestly say that you don't know how to get home and you are afraid of putting Minari in danger again?
Self-voicing enabled. Chuckling to myself, I move closer to the two girls. Self-voicing disabled.
Remember, this is just until the water clears up and you are able to make your way back home.
Self-voicing enabled. Akashi Yu. I'll be listening to the radio every day for any mention of the snow being cleared away, or the weather improving. Self-voicing disabled.
Understood. We shan't overstay our welcome a second time.
Self-voicing enabled. Mirari, when the time is right, we'll leave without a fuss. Self-voicing disabled.
By the time noon has rolled around, the weather outside seems to have improved.
Self-voicing enabled. Not to the point where I have any confidence in making a long trek. but at the very least it seems as though I'll be able to scout out the area. Self-voicing disabled.
Alright, I should take this opporta- oppor- opportunity to check out the new landscape.
Self-voicing enabled. In particular, I'll see if the path Murray and you were taking yesterday has cleared up at all. Self-voicing disabled.
After confirming on the radio that the weather is set to remain unchanged for the rest of the day, I began to put on my boots and coat. Akashiyuna, where are you going? Oh, Mary, I was just going to go check out the terrain now that the weather has stabilized for a bit.
Self-voicing enabled. Akashi I'll be back before long. Self-voicing disabled.
I I'll come with you. No, you won't. No, no, you won't. Would not.
Self-voicing enabled. I gently flick Miri on the forehead as if to punish her for saying something unreasonable.
You just stay
Self-voicing
pat
disabled.
and recover. I don't want you over asserting yourself.
Self-voicing enabled. Miri, but I can't just continue to leech off your kindness like this. Self-voicing disabled.
I need to make myself useful. It's the least I can do. Considering everything you are doing for me.
Self-voicing enabled. Akashi I appreciate your feelings, but if you come with me and you faint again, you're only going to cause more trouble. Mirror. Self-voicing
Ooh,
disabled.
appreciate, appreciate, appreciate. Mary shrugs as I point out the major flaw in her offer without hesitation. See, listen, Uham. I know it's kind of rude to ask this of a sick person, and I am not implying that this is all you are good for or anything, but
Self-voicing enabled. Akashi if you're really itching for something to do, why don't you clean up a bit, or make lunch for when I get back? Self-voicing disabled.
only if you are feeling up to it. Of course. Yes, absolutely. It would, it would, it would be my pleasure, Akashiyuna. Thank you.
Self-voicing enabled. Akashi no, you really don't need to thank me for assigning you chores. Self-voicing disabled.
Without wasting a moment, Mary skips over to the storeroom where I keep all of the cleaning supplies.
Self-voicing enabled. It seems the specter of illness means nothing to Missouri after all. Self-voicing disabled.
Dressed suitably, I head out into the snow. As I go to close the door behind me. However, I feel something block my way. Hey, what? What's it? What's it? Akasiyuna. Oh, I am sorry, Fuyu. Fuyu pushes past me. And this time I close the door for real.
Self-voicing enabled. Akashi Uni. Wait a minute. Self-voicing disabled.
What are you doing out here, Fuyu?
Self-voicing enabled. To you. What? Do I need your permission to go outside? Self-voicing disabled.
Well, no, I guess not. But given the timing, it's like you were following.
Self-voicing enabled. To you. Why you're going to check out the terrain, aren't you? To see what's changed, and where you can get through. Self-voicing disabled.
If you are going to try to reach our den, then you all need a, a guide, and I can hardly allow the princess to go, given her current condition.
Self-voicing enabled. Akashi Uni. I never said anything about visiting your den. Self-voicing disabled.
See, fine, you can come along. Just
Self-voicing
don't
disabled.
get too far. Too far ahead. Fuyu runs off before I can finish speaking. Oh well, if she is this lively, it should not be a problem.
Self-voicing enabled. Akashi Uni. Besides, I was planning on checking out the path those girls took yesterday. Self-voicing disabled.
I guess the only change of plans is that I all now be doing it with company.
Self-voicing enabled. Following the after Fuyu, I soon reached the stretch of snow where I found the two girls yesterday. Self-voicing disabled.
While visi- visibility has certainly improved, the path itself is still blocked off.
Self-voicing enabled. At a glance, it doesn't seem like there's any way to get through. Fuyu. Self-voicing disabled.
Still not good, huh? Maybe if I know that won't work. I had to break it to you, Puyu, but it doesn't look like you all be getting through here. Not today, at least. I know.
Self-voicing enabled. To you. Even so, I can't just give up and return empty-handed. Self-voicing disabled.
What would the princess say if I return without securing a return home? She do probably be relieved.
Self-voicing enabled. Akashi you may want to go back as soon as possible, but I get the feeling Miruri isn't so keen. Self-voicing disabled.
Whether she wants to return or not, the princess understands that we must.
Self-voicing enabled. To you. As such, it is my duty to ensure that return is made possible. Self-voicing disabled.
Well, good luck with that. Unless you have a snow plow handy. I don't think you all be getting through here anytime soon. Hmm. Scratch, 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 scratch. For you cannot dig your way through. Not with that attitude. Scratch, 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 scratch. See, seriously? At least wait for the snow to melt a bit. Trying to dig through there right now must be like clawing your way through stone, 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 stone.
Self-voicing enabled. To you, HMPH. Don't underestimate the might of self-voicing disabled.
Goodbye.